Again, welcome back to calculus. In these lectures, we're going to learn how to find the derivative of a function using the constant rule, also using the power rule, and also the constant multiply rule. So we start with the constant rule. Now, the derivative of a function, and if the function is a constant value, the answer is 0. So here we say the derivative of a constant function is always 0. So we represent it as b dx c equal to 0. Here we say c is a constant value. So here we have y equal to 7. Now to find the derivative of y equal to 7, the answer will be 0. So it will be dy dx equal to 0. And we have f at s equal to 0. The derivative of f at s equal to 0, the answer also will be 0. Now we can represent derivative of a function as d dx or as a apostrophe. So s at t equal to -3, derivative of s at t will be 0. Y equal to k power square. Here the k is a constant value. And we know power also is a constant value, which is 3.142. So the derivative of a constant value k power square will be 0. Next is the power rule. Now, if we have a function f at x equal to the x to the power n, then the derivative of f at x will give us n times x to the power n minus 1. So that is n times x to the power n minus 1. So let's say we are looking for a derivative of a function s cubed. Then it will be 3 times x to the power 3 minus 1, which will give us 3x squared. So let's see an example. F at s equal to s cubed. The derivative of f at s will be 3 times x to the power 3 minus 1, which will give us 2. So the answer will be 3s squared. Now we have g at x equal to cube root of 3. Here we know the cube root of 3 is the same as writing x to the power 1/3. So we write it, the derivative of g at x will be the derivative of x to the power 1/3, which will give us 1/3 x, 1 minus 1/3. Now 1 minus, it will be 1/3 minus 1. So 1/3 minus 1 will give us negative 2/3. So we can find the reciprocal of it, and the answer will be 1 over 3x to the power 2/3. Again, the power rule said if we have s to the power n, the answer will be n times x to the power n minus 1. Again, x to the power n, the derivative of it will be n times x to the power n minus 1. So here we have s to the power 1/3. So it will be 1/3 times x to the power 1/3 minus 1, which will give us minus 2/3. Now the next question we have y equal to 1 over s squared. Now we know s squared is the same as writing x to the power -2. So here we will rewrite it x to the power -2. So the derivative of s to the power -2 will give us -2 times x to the power -2 minus 1. -2 minus 1 will give us -3. So our final answer will be -2 to the power x to the power +3, which means we find the reciprocal of it. So it's the same denominator now. Or we can leave the answer as -2 s to the power -3. So in the example we saw, we can see that the steps, first we need to rewrite the equation. So we have y equal to 1 over s squared. We rewrite the equation as y equal to x to the power -2, so that it will look like s to the power n. Then here we can find the derivative of the function. So it will be -2 times x to the power -2 minus 1, which will give us -3. Then we can find the reciprocal of x to the power -3 to change the exponent negative value to, again, positive value. Next is the constant multiplier rule. So the constant multiplier rule said, if we have a function, in this case, C is our constant value, and f at x is our function. So we have C times f at x. It will be, the derivative of it will be C times the derivative of f at x. So let's see an example. Now here we have y equal to 5 times s cubed. So we are not going to touch the 5. We'll leave the 5. Then we find the derivative of s cubed. So we again have the 5 out. Then we find the derivative of s cubed. Now we know the derivative of s cubed will be 3x squared, because 3 minus 1 is squared. Then we can multiply 5 by 3, which gives us 15, and then the x squared. Let's see another example. We have y equal to 2 divided by x. We can rewrite this equation or function as 2x to the power negative 1. We bring the x to the top as a numerator instead of denominator. So we get s to the power negative 1. Okay, so 2 is our constant value. We are not going to touch it. We find the derivative of x to the power negative 1, which will give us negative 1 times x to the power negative 1 minus 1. So that will give us, the power will be negative 2. And remember, we have 2. So 2 times negative 1 will be negative 2. And we find the reciprocal of x to the power negative 2, which will give us s squared. Next example, we have 4 t squared divided by 5. So our constant value here will be 4 and 5. So we bring the 4 and 5 out of the equation. Then we find the derivative of t squared, which will give us 2t to the power 2 minus 1, which will be 1. So our answer will be 4 by 5 multiplied by 2t. We know 4 multiplied by 2 will give us 8 divided by 5 and t. Next, we have y equal to 2 times square root of x. So here again, we have a constant value 2. So we remove it. Then we find the derivative of x to the power half, and which will give us half times x to the power half minus 1. Now half minus 1 will give us negative half. So our final answer here, we can see 2, we'll cancel the 2 down here. It's 2 times half, they will cancel. So our answer will be x to the power negative half. We can change it to a positive exponent, and that will be 1 over x to the power half, or 1 over square root of x. Next example, we have 1 divided by 2 times cube root s squared. So we have our constant value to be half. Then we rewrite and also move the x from denominator to numerator. So the exponent will be negative. So it will be negative 2/3, since we know cube root will be power 1/3. So 2 times 1/3 will give us 2/3. And it's negative because we move x from denominator to numerator. So now we leave our constant values. Then we find the derivative of x to the power negative 2/3. So that will give us negative 2/3 times x to the power negative 2/3 minus 1, which gives us negative 2/3 minus 1 will give us negative 5 by 3. So finally, we have half times negative 2/3, which gives us negative 1/3. Then we change negative 5/3 exponent to positive. So our s will be denominator. Next example, we have y equal to negative 3x over 2. So our constant value here will be negative 3/2. So we find the derivative of x. Always derivative of x will give us 1. Why? Because it will be 1 times x to the power 1 minus 1, which gives us s to the power 0. Now, any value raised to the power 0 is always 1. So the answer will be 1. So it will be 1 times -3/2, which will give us -3/2. So here we say the constant multiply rule and also the power rule can be combined into one rule. So the combination will be, we have c x to the power n is the same as writing c n x to the power n minus 1. And this is what we use in our previous questions examples. So that will be the conclusion of these lectures, and hope to see you in the next lectures. Thank you.